Hey guys, it's Michelle from Cozyegg and Ramsey's. It's right here. This is episode 91 and today is Monday, June 29th, 2020. If you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. If you are new here, thanks so much for checking out my channel. This is primarily a video about cross stitching, but there's always some other stuff thrown in there as well. And of course there are cats. Most of the time when I'm recording, Tut is like my constant companion. So he's typically the one that is back and forth and across in front of the screen, etc. His brother today has been super needy. So Eric is at the moment doing a webinar. I thought for sure that Ramsey's would go in there and sit with him. But no, he's right here with me. But he is super needy today for some unknown reason. But anyway, so I did not record last week. I had intentions of doing that, but I'll be honest with my heart just wasn't in it. So here I am today. Okay, so let's see what's been going on. Work is work. We are coming up on the 4th of July holiday in the US, which is actually next Saturday. I have the day off from work on Friday. That's the day our company is giving us our observed holiday, company holiday. And so I decided to take off Wednesday and Thursday so that I could have 5 days total away from the craziness. So I'm only working 2 days this week. I'm through one of those 2 days, but today was super long. Or at least it felt like it lasted a million years. So, Eric and I have started doing deep cleaning on the house again. You may recall me talking about this in June of last year. And we did do deep cleaning like in November as well. I just probably didn't talk about it quite as much because it was a little bit abbreviated. But we are fully fledged in the midst of deep cleaning again. So that is what our weekends have been spent doing. We had hoped to have all of it finished before I took my vacation days. That didn't happen. So I'm probably gonna have to blow at least one vacation day finishing up the deep cleaning, which I'm not super thrilled about, but it has to get done. So there's only so many hours in the day. Otherwise, not too much else going on. There's I'm in Texas. Our COVID numbers are just continuing to rise exponentially. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One of which is I think we opened back up too soon. And two, people are not social distancing, they're not wearing masks, and they're sure as hell not staying home. So here we are. I am continuing to stay at home. I have only been going out for doctor's appointments, and that's it. And I wear my mask, and I come back home. and I'm going to continue to do that, is just to go out for essentials. Buying thread is not an essential. Sorry for those of you that think it is, but it's not. Anyway, so we are starting to shut back down again, and there are areas of the state that are starting to put mandatory mask regulations in place. But of course, if we're not going to enforce it, so it's a lot of ridiculousness on that front. So, and there's been a lot of stuff going on in the stitching community, some good, some not so good. Yeah. So, there's that. On the good front, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World has released some patterns under, she is designing under the name Hemlock and Rye, which I think is awesome. And she just released her first patterns a few days ago, or yesterday. It may have been yesterday, or whenever she did her last video, so I guess that was Saturday. And so there's more information in her video, but 3 of the patterns are Christmas themed, but they're sort of subtle Christmas. They are Nantucket houses. They're just fantastic. So if you are looking for something to stitch for Christmas in July, go get you those. Yeah, so let's see. Let's just get into it, shall we? And we'll see if my cat lets me do that. So we're going to start with finishes. So you may recall from last time that I was doing the Cure for Melancholy Sal with It Is Kismet Stitches and Michelle Bendy, Bendy Stitches, and Emily C. Eclectic Possessions. So this is by Not Forgotten Farm. It's called Melancholy, and we decided that we loved this and decided to do a Sal. So I showed you my progress on this last time, and now I have a finish. So there you go. It calls for DMC, and I of course changed all of mine to overdyes. And it probably would have been prudent for me to remember what it is that I used. So this is on 40 count weeks, the unfortunately named Confederate Gray. And the black that I used, I think, is Carriage Black. This green color that I used for the vine is Caper. The orange, I think, is, I want to say it's Fragrant Cloves. I believe this brown is Sarsaparilla, maybe. The white, I believe, is Parchment. And then the gold here is Brandy. And the way that that this little vase is charted is to have that darker color band, you know, the darker colored bands on there that I believe are the orange color. I tried that and I did not like the way that it looked. So I ripped that out and I actually ended up using the parchment on there. And I thought it looked kind of like a yellowware bowl, which I'm enamored with yellowware. So I really love how that turned out. So I'm very happy with it. I will probably finish this into a pillow, like a dough bowl filler kind of pillow. Even though it's a little bit on the large size, I still will probably do that. But I love it. It was a fun, quick stitch. And it was a much needed kind of break from the other stuff that I've been stitching on. So that's my one and only finish. So then when we talk whips, I have a few things that I've been working on. So I think I mentioned last time dark 13 stitching. And so I decided to work on Hallow Eden again. Don't help. So, don't help. Here's Hallow Eden. And so what I worked on, I finished the moon and I finished 3 more letters. And then I got started on the outline. Really, the outline of these pumpkins that are up here at the top of the tree. So, I was really happy to get that moon finished though, and to get some more letters done. So this is Hallow Eden by Plum Street Samplers, and I'm using some of the called for overdyes, and then I made some substitutions based on what I had or did not have in my stash. And this black that I'm using is charcoal. No, not charcoal, it's coal, K-O-H-L. And I love it. I love the variation in it. And I'm almost out of it, so I may need to buy some more. But loving this. So I got that out and worked on it for dark 13 stitching. And then the other thing that I worked on, other than Sparrow, I'll get to Sparrow in a minute. The other thing that I worked on, there was another SAL that was started, which was the Diversity and Inclusion SAL, as well as Representation Matters SAL. So I decided for that I was going to get out my moon phases by the Little Stitcher, because I decided to convert the skin tones, the skin color and the hair color for 2 of the 3 ladies in that. So I decided that would be the perfect piece to get out and work on, because you know I'm all about the whips and trying to get some of these whips done. So I got this out and I am stitching this on Midnight Tryst by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And so when I picked this up, this lady, all I had was her hand. And this is a little blown out. At least it's showing up that way on my screen. Hopefully it's not as bad for you. But, so I just had her hand. And so I stitched all of her. I worked on this for basically a weekend. I stitched all of her. Really pleased with how that turned out. And then I went back to this lady, and I had most of her stitched. I had her head and her hands and her hair stitched, and I had most of her black, the black part of her dress stitched. So I finished up the black part of her dress, and then I did all of the white. So I actually got a ton done during the weekend, and I'm really pleased with how they look with the changes in skin tone and hair color. So this lady, I believe I used the called for skin color and hair color. So her hair color is white. It's the same white as the rest of this. But then her skin color is, let's see what it is. Oh my goddamn. Her skin color is 3774. Which is, you know, kind of the standard peachy white person skin tone. And so then for the other two ladies, I pulled some other DMC. So for one, I pulled 841, and then she's got the darker gray hair. So I pulled, what is that, 645 for that. And then for the other lady, the one that I started, I pulled 3862. And then I used this lighter colored gray for her hair, 3023. And I'm really pleased with both of the skin tones that I used. I didn't want them to be uniform, but I wanted both of the ladies to be people of color. After stitching it though, I'm kind of thinking that I maybe should have flip-flopped their hair colors, because her lighter gray hair kind of blends in with the white dress. So I probably should have used the darker gray over here and the lighter gray over on this one. But because she had the lighter skin tone, I wanted to use the darker hair, and because she had the darker skin tone, I wanted to use the lighter color hair. But I don't know if I'll leave it or not, but I'm really pleased with the way that their skin tones turned out, and I'm really pleased with making the changes that I did to represent some people of color in my cross stitch, which is really what the sale is all about. Because, you know, I think I talked about this previously, that, you know, almost all of the people in cross stitch are depicted as white skinned, which is problematic because not everybody is white skinned, right? So I know that over the past few years, there are a couple of designers, like the ones that come to mind, Frosted Pumpkin and Clouds Factory, have tried to be a little more inclusive in depicting other skin tones in their cross stitch patterns. But I mean, it's been a pretty recent thing, and you know, I always see people doing skin color conversions for mirabilias, which are beautifully done, you know, but again, it begs the question, why are we having to do, you know, skin color conversions on pieces, and it's because there aren't any. You know, if you start to go looking for designs that depict Black people, you know, people of color, they just don't exist. They are just, they're just not out there. And hopefully that will change. Hopefully we'll start to see some more. Lindy Stitches has, you know, a couple of designs, and she's actually doing a mystery Sal right now that absolutely fits right in with the Representation Matters Sal. So if you aren't aware of that, you can send her an email and get the first part of the design, which came out in her newsletter. And then, of course, you can sign up for her newsletter to get the subsequent parts. But it would be nice to start to see more representation of different colored skin, different types of people even. And by types, I mean like body types, etc. You know, in cross stitch, right? It would be nice to see. So, yeah, I think I made some really good progress on this. I'm really happy with it. I'm very happy with my skin color conversion and with making these ladies be a little more diverse. So, and now that I have kind of the bulk, it feels like I have the bulk of the stitching done. Now I'm kind of anxious to get back to this again so that I can maybe knock it out and get another finish. But I have to work on Sparrow because I need to get Sparrow done. So let me take my chart off, and then we can talk about Sparrow. You would think I'm new. Okay, so Sparrow, here's where I'm at. I was trying so hard to finish page 4, and it just did not happen. I feel like I got a lot done. You know, I've turned this corner here. Page 4 basically ends right here. I'm working on this big basket of flowers, and I just have some fill-in to do on those big flowers. And then that will be finished. That basket took for freaking ever. And then I have another bird and a flower, and I think there's a butterfly right here, and then of course my border that needs to get done. So close, but not close enough. And then once I finish page 4, I have to decide where I'm gonna go from there. Am I gonna do like a typewriter and go back to the other side and move down? Or am I just gonna work down from here? I don't know, I haven't decided. So just a reminder, this is on 48 count Gonder linen that was hand dyed, and I'm using the called for threads. I just sometimes put them in different places, like my house. This is mulberry for the house, and I think I used toffee for the doors. So, yeah. And so it occurred to me, so here's what keeps happening to me. Like, I've been wanting to work on Sparrow Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, work on something else. What happens is that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I get almost no stitching done because I'm working and just, right? I just don't get any stitching done. And then Thursday, I guess because it's so close to Friday, I seem to like get my momentum back, and I stitch a whole lot on Thursdays. And then, as you can see from what I did on, moon phases, I got a lot done on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I decided maybe I need to switch this up. Maybe I need to work on Sparrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then maybe work on something else Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Because Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are just kind of a wash. And I'm just not getting far enough along on Sparrow, trying to, like, really basically just working on it one day a week. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm also thinking that I need to, like, get to it. Pick up the pace. So those are my whips. So let's talk a little bit about Stache Enhancement. There's not much. There's a little bit. And then we'll talk plans. So, Stache Enhancement. So a little while ago on Stitch Mania, oh, and that's the other interesting new thing in the world. Garrett and Katie from Stitch Mania are starting their own podcast, which is fantastic because it will probably be more diverse than some of the other podcasts that have existed out there. So, yay. Okay, so anyway, on Stitch Mania, a little while ago, I think Kyle did a post where he said, what's your unicorn chart? And he said, I just like to ask this every so often. And so it's fun to, see what people post and, see if you have something that maybe you can pass along or whatever, or direct them to where to find something. And so I posted on there that my current unicorn obsession was Stacey Nash Cherry Hollow Farm. This was a limited edition, market special release that was done. It came in a little bag several markets ago. And of course, at the time, I was like, I don't need that. Since then, I've seen a bunch of people stitch it and finish it, and I'm freaking in love with it. Mainly because of the house. So I've been stalking around trying to find it and had not had any luck. And so I posted on there, that was my current unicorn obsession. And a very sweet stitcher commented and said, I have two. I'm happy to send you one. And so she did just that. And she sent me the chart, which of course is back here, and then the photo that came in the little bag. She's like, I don't have the bag anymore, but that's okay. So this is what it looks like, and I love it so much. And then she also sent along 5 of the threads that it calls for. That she had on hand. So she sent those along to me, which I thought was really, really sweet. So super thrilled with that. And the red of the house is brick, which is fantastic. So it's cocoa, dolphin, caper, brick, and sanguine. And then there's 2 more that it calls for, parchment and gunmetal. So just so sweet and generous. And she sent along this sweet little card. And Just so sweet. So I was thrilled to get that, and now of course I need to figure out what to stitch it on so that I can stitch it. So that came in the mail. And the day that that came, there was another package in the mail that I was like, I'm not expecting anything else. What is this? And it was a surprise. I was like, what is this? It was a surprise from Miss Sylvia. So she sent me some fabric because, so I don't know if this is why, but so I was telling her that when we were having one of our Friday night, Saturday morning, what we call Fratter-day chats, I was telling her, you know, that I had bought some fabric, and so now I have like, I have the opposite problem. Before, I couldn't start things because I didn't have fabric, because I don't have fabric stash. And so then I tried to rectify that by buying some fabric. But now it's like I have too many choices. I can't decide what to stitch on my fabric. And also, I don't want to make the wrong choice. So I have like this paralysis of decision. So she sent me some things just to give me a few more choices. So, and make the others not be quite so precious. So this one this is a hand-dyed fibers, so Vicky Clayton fabric, and this says that it is a 36 count by 40 count, so it may be an uneven weave. I will have to check it, but I really like the color. It's it reminds me a little bit of straw, maybe. Maybe not quite so yellow as that, but super happy for that. And the Vicky Clayton fabric, that's actually what I'm stitching my Marquois de Justine on. So it's really nice fabric. So I will have to check the count on that just to be sure, but there's that piece. And then this piece that on the label it says it is 40 count, but then on the little note it says uneven wave 3640, and this is also hand-dyed fabric, Vicky Clayton. So it's just kind of a antique white, and Sylvia said in her note, you will have to break out your dyeing skills. So she thought, you know, by sending some very plain neutrals, I could kind of make them into whatever I need. So I'm excited about that. And I think most of these are like half yards. And then the last little package, here is another one that is kind of that, also that kind of antique creamy kind of color. That is also some hand-dyed fibers. She thinks this also may be 40 count, so I will check it. And then this one is it's kind of blowing out with my light. This is a Zweigart. She said that she believes that this is 46 count and it's just white. So a perfect opportunity to try some 46 count. And then of course I can, you know, I can leave it white, I can dye it. So I'm actually, you know, I've been leaning a lot more towards the standard Zweigart colors lately. I've been really looking at those as opposed to some of the hand dyes. So we may be getting back to basics here, but really, really thrilled to have these. So thank you, Sylvia. You know, I appreciate it. And it was fun to get a little surprise in the mail that I was not expecting. That just does not want to go back in there. Crinkle, crinkle. Crinkle, crinkle. Got it. All right. So that's it for Stache Enhancement. So then let's talk about plans. So like I said, I'm gonna continue on with Sparrow, but I'm thinking I may kind of switch up, you know, doing it on the weekends as opposed to trying to work on it Monday through Thursday. And so I did that this past weekend, and I didn't get as much progress as I would have liked. And I think part of that was just like deep cleaning yesterday, and I wasn't feeling good last night. My leg was hurting, so I couldn't get comfortable. So, you know, and there was no Brenda and the Cereal Starter video last night, so my whole Sunday was just completely thrown off because of that. So, anyway, so I'm going to keep at Sparrow. And I would really like to kind of hardcore focus on Sparrow because I'd really like to get it finished. My goal would be to get it finished by the end of July. Based on the pace that I'm going at, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I'm going to try to do, at least to see how far I can go. In August, my birthday is in August, and Sylvia, who is running with Needles and Scissors on Flosstube, if you have not checked out her videos, you should. She mentioned to me, you know, a few weeks ago, you know, hey, your birthday's coming up in August. Do you want to start something? Do you want to stitch on something together? Let me know. And so I decided that I really wanted to get back to stitching on Ann Ufendel, which I started as part of my Sampler Mania. And I just have the tiniest little bit of starts on it. So for August, I'm going to focus on Ann Ufendel, and I would like to invite anyone that has one of the Ufendel sisters started, or you would like to start it, to join me in stitching on the Ufendels in August as a birthday sal for me, which I have never really done. If you have another Hands Across the Sea sampler that you'd like to work on, by all means get that out. And so I thought we'd just use the hashtag Cozyegg hats B-Day sal. So that'll be the month of August. My birthday is actually on the 22nd, so if you specifically, if you don't want to do it the whole month, if you specifically want to stitch on it right around my birthday, I would love that. Because those Hands Across the Sea samplers are just too good, and they're all fantastic. And I love seeing other people stitching on them. So, but I will be working on Anna Ufendel and hopefully making some good progress on her, because I borrowed that chart and I need to get a move on so I can get that chart back to its owner so that she can start it. So, August is for Anna Ufendel. That's my plan. And kind of while we're on that subject too, Sylvia and I have been talking a lot about, you know, trying to kind of focus on those pieces that are really important to us, that we just, what I'm calling my bucket list of stitching. And so she explains kind of her thought process in her last video, so you might go check that out. But she was thinking, you know, kind of narrowing down the reproduction samplers, the big reproduction samplers, to 50 that she just absolutely has to stitch. And so I was a little more lenient in my definition of what I was going to put on my list of 50, because I wasn't just including reproduction samplers, I was including some larger pieces that aren't reproduction samplers, that are just on my bucket list that I really want to stitch. And then I also included my current whips that I have going of samplers that I really want to get finished. And I also included some smaller reproduction samplers, and Sylvia was kind of, you know, only going over a certain size on her list. So my bucket list, which was a little more inclusive, that was supposed to be 50, I stopped when I got to like 103. So if I'm going to have any hope of stitching these 103 things that are my absolute have to stitch them bucket list before I die, I gotta get on it. So Sparrow and then Anna Ufendel. That's my plan. But you gotta throw in some smalls too, right? You can't just stitch all big samplers all the time. So, since we finished the Melancholy Sal, the ladies and I decided that we would stitch on something that that Emily mentioned in one of her recent videos, which is, so she just recently purchased these that were reprinted by Blackbird Designs. I bought these when they came out. You know, there was a period of time that I was just on automatics for Blackbird Loose Feathers designs. Back in the good old days when the money was flowing. So, and I had zero restraint. So I've had this since it originally came out, and I have always been in love with this bird, this partridge box. I will probably never stitch this triptych because it bugs the crap out of me that it's only 3 of the 4 seasons. So I will probably never stitch it, although I've seen some lovely renditions of it, even some with blackbirds, which I think is fantastic. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm all about this partridge, and this partridge has been at the top of my want to stitch list since I got this chart. So when Emily showed it in her video, I was like, yeah, we need to stitch this partridge. So Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, and Michelle Bendy were also down for it after we finished Melancholy. So we are going to start the partridge on July 25th. You are welcome to join us. We are calling it That Damn Bird Sal. So feel free to join. And I started kitting up. I don't have all of my threads pulled, but I did start. I have this piece of what I think is, I think this may be Meadow Rue, 40 count. I have a little scrap of this, so I think it will fit on here. I need to double check that. So I think this is what I am going to stitch it on. Actually, that may not be Meadow Rue. That may be Light Exemplar, because I think this is Meadow Rue. So I pull, it calls for Belle Soise, and so I pulled the ones that I have, Weathered Vine, Tortoiseshell, and Terracotta. It may actually not call for Terracotta. Let me look. Let's just look. It does not. It calls for Rustique. But I thought that Terracotta might be actually perfect for him. And then I had this Dinky Dyes that was from a grab bag, so it's not labeled. Dinky Dye Silk that I thought would be good. And then I still need to find a couple other colors, so I pulled the DMC and I'll figure that out. So, but I have a little bit of time because we're going to start basically a month from now. Like I said, July 25th, that damn bird's out. So feel free to jump in. I think this will be another fun quick stitch. And then I will have another small thing off of my 2-stitch list. So, all right, I think that's it for my plans. So, I have a small little bit of Whip Parade still left to do, but we're basically at the end. But before that, since I did finish this, I thought I would do a giveaway. And at some point recently, I passed the 2,000 subscriber mark on my channel, which I very much appreciate. And so as a thank you, and then also because I think we can all use this sentiment, and just wanted to spread a little cheer. So if you would like to be entered into the giveaway, of course all the normal rules apply, you know, don't say giveaway and be over 18 and all that good stuff. So one of the things that obviously the quote here, industry is the best cure for melancholy. Since we are still, you know, dealing with COVID and we're in this sort of weird space because of it, just tell me something that you've been doing to kind of keep yourself going, and you know, keep the melancholy at bay with everything that's been going on, because it's some hard stuff. So just tell me something that you've been doing to keep the melancholy at bay, and I will enter you in the giveaway. And when I record next time, whether that be next week or a couple of weeks, I will announce the winner. So, all right. Whip Parade. I was digging in my closet and found a few more things. There may be others, but I did also like purge a bunch of whips that I knew I was just never going to finish. So there may be a little bit more, but there's probably not much more. But these were kind of the main things that I came across. Oh, and unfortunately I didn't pull that chart. Anyway, all right. So these are mostly workshop pieces that I started either with EGA or with Tudor Rose. So this one is the Quicker Sewing Case by Catherine Theron. This is one of the first workshops that I actually took. And so you stitch this outside with this Bargello, and then of course you've got these Quaker pieces for the inside. And here's another little close-up look of that. And so I showed you, remember I showed you some scrimshaw pieces that I have. Two of the scrimshaw pieces go in here. So they go in here. And here is what I have done on this. And I think I did this in class. So I have this started of the inside. And I also have this line, which who knows what that's for. But there's one of the pieces, and that is over one. And then on the outside piece, I have the start of the Bargello. Sad, sad, sad. Whatever. One of these days I will probably get back to this. The Bargello is done in DMC to kind of mimic the look of wool, but wool of course is expensive. And then the inside pieces are done with, I believe, Gentle Arts. So, and I've got all of my little pieces and parts in here. But, you know, these kind of pieces just sort of sit in my whip pile and don't really get a lot of attention once the workshop is over. I don't even have that other piece. I was really well put together and prepared for this, wasn't I? So here's another piece that I have, which is the Elizabethan Casket Etui by Betsy Morgan, who is Willing Hands. This piece has now been published in a book that was just released. Betsy also did a toy chest that I didn't really have any interest in, but when I saw that she was doing this casket, I kind of jumped on that possibility. And so I took this, I think I took this through EGA, and it was the first and only class that I have taken with Betsy. But here is, so here's kind of some of the pieces that you can see. And she teaches you a lot of different techniques in this. You have some, you know, options for different things that you can include, different motifs that you can include. She does some different influences, like Mexican samplers and Dutch samplers and a CC and things like that. So here is here's our Aztec Stitch. And I'll be honest, it's been so long since I did this that I think this is the back, I think this is the front. So this was our kind of our test piece, so she could teach us how to do the Aztec Stitch, which is for the Mexican sampler influence part. And then in class, so we had some pre-stitching to do, and then in class we put together this little thimble purse, which was the Dutch influence. So there's the windmill on one side, and then on the other side there's this little bird with this tree, and we made these little loops that I think are like buttonhole stitch or something, and so it will have some cording that goes through the little loops so that you can cinch this up, and then on the inside it has some silk dupioni, and you put your little thimble in there and then you can cinch that tight. So this piece goes inside the casket. But pretty silks. So, yeah, so this is another workshop I took, and then I haven't done anything with it since the class. And then I took, for seminar one year, I took 2 Catherine Theron workshops. One of them, I can't even for the life of me remember the name of, but it was like, it's another kind of needlebook pocket, you know, kind of thing. American sampler. I mean, I don't remember. Anyway, I will insert a photo of it here. Because I have those charts in a notebook, which I completely forgot to get. But the outside of it, again, has that Bargello. And so this is my start of the outside of the piece. And this is how much I have done. So I have a little more to go in this outline, and then I can start filling it in. I wonder what the name of that thing is. American Pocket? American? I don't have any idea. But this is another one that hasn't gotten any love. And then I don't think I've even started on the inside of it. And then the other piece that I have is a big sampler, and it is called Peaceable Kingdom, and I will insert a photo of it here. And when I was looking at this, it actually made me want to work on it again. So that's probably a good thing. And so this is also done in mostly gentle arts. It looks like there are some DMCs in here also. And then one of the colors that she had in here, myself and Sylvia and another friend of ours, we thought her model didn't look like the color that was in our kit. So we bought a couple of different silken colors there because, well, silken colors, but then probably end up using this more blue one. So I got aqua clouds and pearled blues. So even though the rest is Gentle Arts, I will probably use one of these silks for that part that we thought didn't really. And maybe one of those she gave us and the other one we bought. I don't remember. Whatever. I will have to sort it all out when I get back to this one day. So this is a good size sampler. I mean, it's big. If the piece of fabric gives you any indication. So I have started on the border and I just have a very little bit done. So if you look super closely at that, you can see that this is not just cross stitch. And I want to say that the vine is like long arm cross or something. I'd have to go back and look. But I just love those big strawberries. And I would really like to get back to this. I would really like to get back to this. So, of course this border here looks a little weird. So hopefully I didn't screw that up, but whatever. That's a problem for future Michelle. So, I think that's really kind of the end of my whip parade. Like I said, there may be some other things lurking, but I think that's the majority of it. So, that's it. Kind of talked about my plans, talked about the bucket list, and we may dig more into that as it happens. Gonna work on Sparrow and see how far I can get by the end of July. And then of course in August, please join me if you have or want to start one of the Ufendels, or if you just want to work on another hat sampler, Hands Across the Sea. I would love for you guys to join me. So, all right, I think that's it for me, and stay safe, wear a mask, representation matters, Black Lives Matter, and be nice to each other. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.